Welcome to On the Radar. Today's discussion about drones in warfare is a reflection of aggregated public sentiment and emerging signal patterns across open-source discourse. A noticeable shift is emerging in how modern battlefield dynamics are being discussed. High-value military assets that were once viewed as decisive instruments of power are increasingly described as vulnerable to low-cost FPV drone attacks. The cost imbalance is central to this conversation. Expensive armored systems and traditional firepower superiority are being challenged by agile, commercially derived drone platforms that can be deployed at a fraction of the cost. Within these discussions, traditional superiority is described as increasingly irrelevant when confronted with inexpensive, precision-guided aerial threats. Drone concealment and counter-detection techniques are also described as insufficient. Persistent aerial surveillance leaves ground forces exposed, and hostile drones are reported to identify, track, and guide FPV strikes with increasing effectiveness. In this environment, visibility is repeatedly framed as a vulnerability rather than an advantage. Night operations introduce an additional layer of complexity. Simultaneous friendly and hostile drone activity creates congested and chaotic airspace conditions, particularly after dark. Operators are described as facing significant cognitive load while attempting to distinguish threats in real time. This environment increases hesitation and elevates the risk of misidentification and friendly fire. Operational inefficiencies are also highlighted. A lack of effective drone-to-ground communication and coordination is associated with duplicate strikes, missed targets, and fragmented execution. The presence of more drones does not automatically result in greater operational effectiveness without synchronized command integration. At the same time, regulatory uncertainty surrounding commercially sourced drone platforms, particularly DJI, introduces structural concerns. Discussions reference potential import restrictions, remote disabling capabilities, and supply chain disruptions. For forces dependent on commercial drone ecosystems, these uncertainties represent a potential point of operational fragility. DJI refers to commercially available unmanned aerial drones manufactured by the Chinese company DJI, which has historically dominated the global consumer and enterprise drone market. These platforms are widely used for photography, surveying, and mapping, but they are also frequently adapted in conflict zones due to their affordability and availability. Taken together, these signals consistently point to four recurring themes. First, the growing vulnerability of high-value assets. Second, persistent and increased exposure through surveillance. Third, cognitive strain in saturated airspace. And fourth, structural dependence on commercial supply chains. These themes emerge directly from the aggregated discourse patterns reflected in the data. These are emerging patterns of conversation, not definitive conclusions. See the underlying data yourself at globalinsight.ai. Interpretation of these signals and their broader implications remains with the viewer. Thank you for watching.